How's everyone doing today? This is Acre Coffee Company. So a little background about myself. I've been brewing beer for probably too long, which my age might not allow, but I've had a draft system in my house for 2 years now. So I've had a Guinness system, and I was really intrigued with the idea of Guinness and the fact that they can get that creamy body with the head that they have. And I really wanted to try to apply that to iced coffee. So on my coffee journey, started as a caffeine addict, and then really went into the craft of what coffee really is. Home roasting, the hot side techniques like pour-overs, French press. I've sort of been through it all. So a quick industry overview about the coffee industry. Coffee is a $20 billion industry. It's huge and it's growing rapidly. It's 7% annual growth, which is one of the highest in the restaurant industry. 25 million people in 50 countries are involved in coffee farming, and over 90% of that is in developing countries. And US is the #1 consumer of iced coffee in the world, with 400 million cups per day, which is pretty impressive number. So I don't want to open a coffee shop. I think the startup is expensive, and I really wanted a scalable business. Coffee shops are extremely high overhead for their small sales dollars, and they rely on a lot of volume. Overhead is expensive. It includes things like real estate in really high traffic areas, cities, malls, and places that are really expensive rent. High equipment costs, very specialized equipment. A fairly large staff, despite the sales dollars. I mean, typically at least 3 or 4 people working in a coffee shop at one time. And extremely high startup costs in total. A kiosk can be anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000, and a coffee house is typically starting around $250,000. So I thought, what if we could eliminate these costs? That's where 1 Acre comes in. So we took the idea of a Guinness tap and Guinness system and applied it to a self-serve coffee station. And this is going to be a network of stations, not just a single unit. We face none of the problems, the cost problems that coffee shops face. There's a fraction of the startup costs. We can be placed in locations that have high traffic without facing the expensive rent. Our staff can be small. We don't have to pay somebody to stand there and pull a lever. And there's zero loss of product with the way that we brew our product. So our process starts by cold brewing our coffee. This is a process that is, unlike many of the iced coffee producers in the industry, we basically steep coffee grounds in cold water for 18 to 24 hours. And you get a product that's less acidic and less bitter than traditional iced coffee. And then we filter that into kegs. Our kegs are the standard old Coke and Pepsi soda kegs, which are very popular among homebrewers. These kegs are flushed with CO2, and all of the air is removed from the kegs. This is really important because we get a shelf life of 2 weeks. With a shelf life of 2 weeks, we can borrow a lot of the same concepts that craft beer has. Aging in oak barrels, split vanilla beans, chocolate in the kegs, fresh fruit. I mean, things that coffee really hasn't seen before. And once they're in the kegs, they're delivered to these coffee stations, which are dispensed from stout taps. It's easy to do. You walk up, pull a lever, pay for your own cup, and you're good to go. Transaction time is estimated to be less than a minute. So it's faster and more convenient. There's no lines with such a short transaction time. They can be in more convenient locations than coffee shops typically are. These locations are restaurants, bars, businesses, transportation, temporary venues like sporting events, and it's cheaper by volume than our competition. We're utilizing actually lack of ice in our iced coffee. We think it looks better and tastes better, and because our stations are built around chest freezers, we can serve our coffee essentially at freezing. It's a healthy alternative because this tastes like it has cream added to it without adding cream. People love this. I mean, I've been selling it, or not selling it, giving it away out in the lobby all day long, and I have not even opened the box of creamers that I brought. I mean, it's creamy by nature, it's silky. And we can, again, do completely new things with the process. I mean, flavors that the coffee industry hasn't seen before. Our coffee is sustainably sourced. So when I was looking into the supply chain aspect of where to source this coffee, I found that the Fair Trade Organization has done a lot of good for places like large plantations, but has done less good for the people that need the most help, which is these 1 to 2 acre farms. Basically, the cost of certification is so expensive for these farmers that if they want to go forward and do fair trade and get that premium over market price, their certifications just put them into debt cycles. I mean, they're only growing maybe 500 to 1,000 pounds of coffee beans every year. It's just not enough to cover the cost of the certifications. So we want to go directly to the farms. Directly sourcing the coffee means that we can pay a premium for the beans if we want to help them increase their capital and basically assure that the coffee that we're getting is the highest quality that it can be. And it's really beneficial for everyone. I mean, we get to see where it's from, we get to see their process, we get to improve on their process and ours, and see where our sales dollars are actually going. So as far as the business model, our approach is basically keep costs low and sales very conservatively estimated. Our accounting, our overhead basically is in 5 categories that most coffee shops would face and are unavoidable. Things like insurance, advertising, constructions of the stations, basic costs. And our variable costs include essentially the same costs that iced coffee or that coffee shops have without the excess napkins, supplies, seats, I mean, all of the sort of restaurant costs. So we looked at the industry average for coffee shop sales, which is $230 a day. We only serve iced coffee at the moment, so we can't take that $230 or 230 sales a day, unfortunately. We looked at a study actually by Dunkin' Donuts, who took a survey of their customers and their preference for iced and hot coffee. And their sales numbers were 56% of their customers prefer iced coffee all year long. We also included seasonality in our projections. So you can see in the cash flow, our peak sales are during the warmer months, and then we drop as low as 25 cups a day during the winter. Peak sales, we estimate, are 120 cups per day in these high traffic locations. So our product is hard to protect. This is the Guinness draft system. I have done very little as far as improving it, although there is definitely room for improvement over the current system. I've taken what we have to work with and tried to perfect this product using their system. So the plan is grow fast and be aggressive in growth. The coffee station that's in the lobby right now is nearly ready to roll out. It's pretty much just a payment system away from being ready. It's paid for, it's good to go, and it will be profitable. But I think we'll get crushed. I think that people will catch on to this idea and really run with it. And if they have an established chain, such as Starbucks, we might face some serious competition. So it's all about brand growth and cost innovation with our products and recipes. So while you start this question and answer session, I'm going to have my lovely roommates go grab some samples for you from the station outside.
Yes.
So, everyone drink coffee here?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
I really enjoyed reading your, even before I got here, reading all your information. I have a food company, and one of the largest factors in holding up our growth is getting adequate raw material that meets our quality standards. And I love the sustainable. I love the single 1 acre farm idea and all that. But how are you going to buy beans from one farm in Durham, New Hampshire, and how are you going to be able to do that consistently, and how are you going to be able to have an ongoing source of really single farm? I mean, everybody in the food business now claims that everything comes from small. There isn't a product now that doesn't come from a small family farm.
Yeah.
But how are you really going to get your beans?
So it's really two areas that we're going to work on. We want to use the 1 acre image as part of the branding. Have a story with the farmer. I mean, have a description of their family and where they live as part of our marketing pitch, so people can see where their sales dollars are going. As to assure actual sources of coffee and make sure we're not running out. We plan on really going to not just one farm, but one of these farms is appropriate for the demand for 1 unit. So we want to get backups, and we're going to have excess supply if we need it. Green coffee bean has a shelf life of about a year before it's really losing its freshness. So we can plan ahead and really make sure that we're not physically running out of coffee, which is obviously a concern.
So you're talking about sourcing small produced
coffee beans in other parts of the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so your plan is to make relationships with these small suppliers,
Yep.
and then you feel like you have all the logistics in place, this supply chain to get that from South America.
Right, that's a great
Here.
question. So, in the short term, in the very near future, we have, there we go, here's some samples. So, there's a coffee roaster in Manchester, New Hampshire that has sort of pioneered this local farm to cup growth. So, we've been going through them, they're QC coffee roasters. So, in the short term, we want to source from them where we can assure that the coffee gets to us and it's of quality. So yeah, the 1 acre idea is probably about a year out. Logistics-wise, we have time to work that out. In the short term, we want to look at this farm to roaster relationship with them.
I think your point of differentiation is the way you make your product,
Absolutely.
and then also the way the different varieties of product and how you're infusing those things and how it honestly reminds me kind of the way that I started, actually. Everybody was making cheese ravioli, and we just did all kinds of different variations on that, and that's what I think that you're doing here. I've never seen coffee with a head on it.
Yeah.
You have to be really careful with fruit and pH,
Yeah.
because you can get into serious food safety issues.
Yeah, I believe
with
that.
some of those things.
Yeah.
When you're adding sugar.
Yeah.
Right, so, but-
Yeah, recipe design is always happening. There's some at home currently going through some developing processes.
So what stops Starbucks from copying you?
That's the problem.
Okay, so that's what
we-
you said.
Yeah, so essentially, we want brand image as our selling point. We want to be the first. I mean, we want to be the Guinness of this, and it's not particularly easy, but I think the product is excellent, and I think that there's room for this.
Do you think you mentioned utility patent in your written stuff?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it is. Patent law is not my specialty by any means, but there is room for improvement on the Guinness tap system. Theirs is more tailored towards keeping carbonation in the drink, which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do. The gas blend now is pretty much spot on so that we don't need to, but I still think there's room for growth, and I think that keeping that carbonation, that creaminess in it for longer could be done. So I think there's a utility patent possible in the future.
And then I have one more question. I was looking through your costs. How have you factored in there's a company in Greece right now that is doing fresh milk vending machines in central Greece, and it's a huge success. I have pictures on the phone I can show you. But where you go in, you put your euro and bring your bottle, and the local dairy delivers the kegs every day.
Yeah.
And there's actually usually a line of people, and it's kids and people with dogs and stuff waiting. And they've cut out all the middlemen. But where did you put your cost of delivering, picking up the kegs? If you're going to be selling $200 and $300 a day worth of coffee.
Right, so actually the cost estimate that I had per cup includes the direct labor of both brewing and delivering coffee. It's extremely easy and very low cost to brew. There's no expensive equipment. Brewing a keg of coffee pretty much takes the same amount of time as a cappuccino as far as the labor is concerned. There's the 24-hour wait to steep, but I mean that's just storage room. So that cost is actually factored into that as part of the direct labor.
So where's the storage room, I guess? And it sounds like it has to be kept refrigerated while it's steaming.
It does. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be near refrigeration temperatures, but it needs to be essentially around 40 degrees. On this scale, we've been doing it with chest freezers with temperature control, but a warehouse with temperature, to really have a brewing room into the future. It's not needed for one of these, but yeah, there would be.
Have you factored that into your investment plan?
So the business plan that I showed is for one station. So actually, economies of scale help us on both sides of things. Yeah, we have the extra costs of warehousing and things like that.
I'm sorry, when you say one station, you mean one dispensing station?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was the financials for just doing the one that we have currently built. And economies of scale really helps us cut costs across the board so that we can then budget in things like a warehouse and the supply chain for getting coffee and things like that.
I have one major concern when I read through, which is, particularly in food service now and consumer preferences, it's all about customization, right? That's
Yep.
why Chipotle became Chipotle and everything else. Everybody wants to. I'm kind of still the old, I don't buy into Starbucks lingo, I go in and order a medium coffee.
Me too.
But, all the people in front and back, in front of me in line and back of me in line, everything is customized. People have very particular thing. There's not a lot of opportunity here for people to customize this. I mean, I think it's delicious.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with it, but have you thought about, and then again, they're going to be unmanned stations, but if you want milk, who's going to make sure the milk is refrigerated and deal with all that?
Yeah, both very good questions. So we can really put an unlimited number of, we can put as many tabs on our systems that we can. So we can assure that we can cover a wide range of tastes.
Right.
People that prefer fruity, sweeter roasts and fruit in the kegs and things like that would take one side, whereas you and me might take that darker roast that's thicker and richer. So although there's not a lot of customization as far as the crazy cappuccinos and double espressos, long coffees, things like that, we really want to cover with the recipe designs.
What's your target for where you? I'm sorry. What's your target for where you want to put these stations?
We really want high foot traffic areas, and we think that it's. I didn't touch upon profit sharing. So to pay for rent, we plan on doing 10% profit sharing, which is actually included in that cost per.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
How are you going to incentivize
So it's
these
10%
locations to put that in there?
Yeah, 10% off the top, and just goes back to the host building. And we're hoping, to answer your other question about who's making sure that the milk is refilled, we're hoping that we can develop a relationship with some of these places that we can have someone at least watching over it, seeing if things run out. And if they don't, if they're not willing to do that, we could send someone midday, every couple hours, have one person covering 7 or 8 conversations.
But then you're near a food service establishment, so in effect you're competing with their own existing operations.
Yeah,
so you gotta
places
really generate some exciting numbers for them.
True.
To give up their 50% margin on their own stuff.
True. I mean, somewhere like Paul Collins that has the cafe already, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get into. But one of our advantages is that thing takes 25 square feet of space. It can get put in places that coffee shops can't even reach. Even if they hadn't the sales numbers to show that it was a good idea.
I work in the lodging industry in New England for more boutique type of properties, and this would be right up their alley, and they'd give it away. They would not charge. People would come in, 3 o'clock is a normal check-in time. This is like a perfect beverage.
Yep.
Like, enjoy this beverage and go. And so I think you could do fairly well.
Yeah, bed and breakfast.
Without the charge type of thing.
Exactly.
They,
my boss is extremely excited about the idea that this could be put in bars alongside their existing offerings.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's getting at the end of the night, you still want to look like you're with it, and you still want, I'm still partying, I'm drinking a Guinness, and sort of put it in as just another outlet.
that would be very good. Yeah, no, I see that application too.
But you need power wherever you go, obviously. So
Yeah, it's about $1 a day in electricity, but that's the only hookup. We bring gas, and all you need is an outlet. So.
Did you consider, 2 parts to this. So the sanitation component, because if you're going to have sweeteners or other things, because people want to do that with their coffee.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been through a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts, that area is usually just a train wreck with just trash and messes everywhere. So I guess the question is, from a customer service standpoint, the key is to always keep it clean. So how do you address that scenario? Because it's probably going to happen.
Right.
And then secondarily, did you consider like food safety licensing? Because my guess is, because it's a consumable product, you're going to need to go through some process and some recertification in that area.
Yeah, there's food certification expenses included in I believe it's one of the sections of that. I'd have to look at the cash flow again, but it's included. They're typically 6 month to a year renewal on something like this. We definitely plan on making sure we're up to code and sure that was the quick way to go out of business. So.
have you registered your name? I like the brand name.
I have not, and I'm open to changing it.
It's very inexpensive to do. I would. Do you know if it's available?
It is available. Yeah, Acre Coffee exists in California, but 1 acre is. I like Acre better.
Doesn't take much to trademark it too.
True. Very true.
Really.
And what about, these are unmanned stations, I mean,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
how do you deal with the shrinkage component of this? So, let's face it, we all think we're honest, but there's always that guy,
Right.
So, again, you're talking very, pretty thin margins here, but, well, I don't guess that's exactly the case, but how would you address the shrinkage issue?
So currently, this model, just due to time and budget constraints, is not set up to do flow control. In any model going forward, we want to do pay first, and then limits to the amount of profit that you pay for, which is likely 16 ounces.
Okay.
So unless they want to really destroy the process, which is always insane, then it shouldn't be an issue.
I think the concern would be that a lot of these high traffic locations, such as students or whatever, I mean, you're gonna find some people will just go, shh.
Yeah, we want to
Honor
control
system,
that.
I think the honor system is definitely a flaw.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of your revenue model.
Yeah,
It's
and
not-
I think it's the technology exists to fix that very easily. Inline restrictor flows and
Yeah.
so.
And do you have a way of like the energy companies communicate when your propane tank is getting low or whatever? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, there's a way to measure when flow stops, and our stations are built to. This one in particular is built to take up to 600 people a day. So the way that they're strung together is you essentially always have one fresh keg ready to go, and they're sort of joint together. So you can just pull the old kegs out in the mornings. So unless we're doing over 600 cups a day in sales, we shouldn't have an issue of things running out. So. And we can always do midday deliveries, and there's no reason not to do that.
So your current vision is a single tap unit? Is the current vision?
That is in the realm of my funding, but my vision is for this to be in a lot of locations. Yeah.
No. I mean, no.
A single tap. Sorry. Okay.
So this is just standard straight coffee.
Right.
So French vanilla, whatever, hazelnut, because I think it's unique enough already.
Yeah.
And I think that it's different than the iced coffee that you're going to get at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
So it might actually stand alone. What worries me is that it's just one
Yeah.
flavor. When you have so how do you have all these recipe ideas and recipe technology to infuse all these different things into the coffee, and your cold infusion technology allows you to do that, and it steeps and it actually comes through really nicely. But now you need, so how big is the unit that has 5 flavors?
Yeah, the one out there has 6 tap holes. Literally ran out of money buying taps, so I don't have 6 taps on there right now.
Yeah.
But 6 taps, covers an extremely wide range of flavors and taste profiles.
But the kegs you need.
So you can, with that system, we can get 10 gallons of each, which works out to about 100 servings each. A little bit less, it's about 80.
Okay, so that serves six different styles of coffee.
Styles, yep, exactly. And there's no limit to that except for the size of the unit. It can be as big
It's
as
a mobile coffee shop.
Exactly. Without the overhead. Yeah.
Well, the beauty of it is if it's not working in one spot, just move it.
Right.
That's great. So I do have a question, going back to the procurement side of things. So it wasn't clear what your plan is to start and what your objective will be. So are you suggesting you're going to get into basically the coffee resourcing and import business? Because that's going to be a high bar, I would think.
Absolutely, yeah. I need to look into the supply chain source of how to get in contact with these companies. It's exciting that the opportunity to work with a company in Manchester like QC is already doing it. So if it turns out to be completely prohibitive for us to do ourselves, we always have that resource, and we're not faltering from our brand image of sustainably sourced coffee. It's something that we're looking into as far as.
And so this company in Manchester, it's like a certified product that's certified from a small producer or some capacity.
Yeah, it's on the bag, farm to cup, and the lady the owner of it, I think, goes to a different Latin American country every 6 months to meet new farmers, and she's amazing.
Yeah, there is an organization, I think it's called Cup of Excellence, where they actually rate small, you have to pay for it, but they rate small batches of coffee from particular farms and alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an official kind of coffee tasting world.
Yep.
And anyway, so
And the other piece too, you're talking about how you stand apart from Starbucks, but if you're going to be doing, I'm assuming you're outsourcing roasting at least initially. right?
Yeah.
So there's always that opportunity to try to do something that's somewhat customized and unique or a little bit different flavor than what everybody else is doing. But-
Yeah, I mean, I think our advantage is that we have this differentiation. We can, focus on the craft coffee aspect of it. Starbucks it's just Starbucks is the main, I'm sure that Starbucks, if they wanted to do this, they would have the dark roast and the golden roast, but we want to focus on getting these recipes perfect and really.
I wouldn't worry about Starbucks. I would worry about being as innovative as you possibly can, and then put your foot right to the floor.
That's the plan.
It's interesting.
Thanks so much, Richard.
Thank you.